Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, where we talk about upcoming events, news, and local businesses. This is Princeton. Play here, stay here.
Before we get started today, just a reminder to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're also recording on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at This is Princeton MN.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us on today's podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Princeton Chamber of Commerce, and this is Zach Kitzman. Joining me is Kim and Mary.
Hey everybody, I have the pleasure of introducing our guest today. It's Azure Davis from Ruff Start Rescue, and with us, they came in with just a wagon full of puppies. So we have some of them on for those of you that are watching.
This is Cedar.
On YouTube, yeah, we have Cedar. I have Oak.
This is Aspen.
Aspen.
Yeah, we've never had live animals on the podcast.
No, but I like it.
Yeah, well, we could get used to
Leave
it.
it to us to provide that.
So I have to tell you that years ago, how long has the rescue been going?
I started in 2010, so 14 years.
14 years.
Yep.
Wow.
So probably around that time, I was working at it was a nonprofit in Princeton, and I was in Rotary. And you came and presented to Rotary, and you had I'll just never forget this. You had the science boards.
Yeah.
That they use,
the
the presentation boards. Yes. To explain what you were doing and what you were starting, and to think, now I see you on, I'll be getting ready, and there you are on Care 11 News. And, it's how far you've come in 14 years is really something.
It's been wild.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I remember actually presenting. There was several years where I did the Rotary. Those are the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
With your science board presentations.
Yes. I wonder what happened to that thing.
Yeah.
I should find it.
You should.
And for people that don't know, you guys are located in town, correct?
Yeah, yep. So we have a facility in Princeton. It's a 5,400 square foot building. It's over by Finish Line area, kind of kitty corner to Finish Line. But we don't have, there's not animals there. So a lot of people come there and they want to adopt a dog or they want to adopt a cat, but they're all in foster homes.
Yep.
So we do have some cats there that are office cats, and sometimes we'll have people come in and see them, but usually we send them to our adoption centers or fosters, so it's temporary. They're only there for a week or two. Otherwise, we don't typically have anyone there on the weekends, and staff's not there after 5, so we don't want to house the animals there, and really we only have 3 kennel runs there, so there's not a lot of room for dogs to be held there anyways. So we use it more as for staff. We have staff offices there, but we also have our own vetting suite. Okay. So we do our own vetting now. We have a big conference room. We have supplies, lots and lots of animal supplies. So that is when people foster for the organization. So if you're wondering where are all of the animals that you rescue, they're in foster homes. So there's about, right now, 600 to 650 active fosters in central Minnesota. Wow. So we have all the animals in their homes, and so not at the facility, which is really nice. I would not be able to sleep at night if they were all just sitting in kennels.
So your facility, you say it by Finish Line, so I'm assuming behind, kind of?
It's if you went down the frontage road there, and there's Rec Motors, and you take a right.
Yep.
Right there on 319th. It is right down that road, right behind Rec Motors.
I did not know that you guys had offices right there.
Yeah, it used to be called Choppers or something. It was a car place where people would bring their cars to get them redone or worked on.
Okay.
So when we bought it in 2016, we renovated the whole thing and turned it into an animal rescue now.
Yeah.
Cool. I would love to come and see it.
Yes, you should. You should come for a tour. I mean, the public is welcome to stop in. We are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and it's more for if people have questions or they need resources or they are trying to figure out how to adopt and they need help navigating the website, or maybe they don't have the internet. And so we have forms that they can fill out there too.
When I saw you on a live, I feel like it was pretty recently, and there was a bunch of dogs. They must have come in on a transport, recently come in. And you were kind of showing each of them in their kennels.
Yep.
And basically you were trying to get fosters that way, or is that kind of how the process?
Yeah, so with that, when people do see that is usually it's from probably the Houston, Texas area.
Yeah, I think it
where
was.
we take those.
Yep.
And we do that 1 to 2 times a month. We take in dogs from out of state. All of the animals, so let's just say, I'll give you an example. Right now in the rescue, we have I know, I don't know which one's
I
whining.
think it might be him.
You guys
Or
sad.
or her. I think it's
Nap
her.
time.
Yeah.
So we have, all these animals that come in, but really when we do this transport, we try to explain to people that yes, we take animals from Texas. We take them in 1 to 2 times a month, so anywhere from 30 to 60 dogs. But the rest of the animals, that come in, gosh, it could be sometimes 300 animals total a month that come into the rescue.
Wow.
Yeah, and especially in the summertime, going into puppy and kitten season, sometimes it's more than that. But we have local as our main focus. So there are a lot of dogs, cats here in Minnesota, that need help. And so we're not going to apply our efforts or our resources over to, southern states if the animals are in need here. But to be honest, before COVID, the state of Minnesota was doing really, really good.
Okay.
The need here wasn't as great. I mean, there's still strays and local impounds. But if you had, a litter of these cute little puppies in a local impound, like let's say Maple Grove or Minneapolis, you have rescues fighting over them to go get them and bring them into the rescue. And it's
really?
yeah. And that's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's we're not going to compete with all these rescues when they're going to get help, so
Right.
then we'll go to the southern states where just so overpopulated. I mean, in the Houston area, I've gone down there, it's like a third world country in some of the areas where we help. It's unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah. And so we work with a lot of rescue groups down there that highly adoptable dogs, and you bring them up here in Minnesota and people adopt them in 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, but down there they're euthanized every single day or even hit by cars. It's crazy.
they're
They're
just
running
all
all
over the
over.
place.
Just running
Yeah.
like wild.
Wild. I mean, we did a video that's somewhere on our website too.
Is it this one that's whining?
I think so.
I can't tell. None of them
I
like they're
know.
whining, but
It's me, sorry.
I let you walk on the table. But
what's-
yeah, we can always switch them out too and maybe grab
What's
that one.
the process if someone wants to surrender their pet?
Yeah, so if that's one of the ways we get our animals. So with Ruff Start, there's the local impounds, like I was talking about, there's the out of state, and then there's owner surrenders. And that's something that we absolutely help. That's actually a big portion of where the animals do come in. And if somebody needed that help, they can go to our website. That's the first step. There's actually a surrender form on the website. People can fill that out, tell us all about the animal. We then have to try to find a foster for them. And that's where it kind of relies on, can we find a foster that can take this dog or cat? I'm not sure. We have to try. And so we always tell owner surrenders, we're going to need a little bit of time.
Right,
where
that was
it's-
my question.
Yeah, it's not same day. And so those urgent situations, they're harder for us. And that's where I hope to get to where, we can help those urgent situations because those needs do come up too. And people have things they just can't predict and they need help immediately, that day or the next day. And right now that's really hard for us to do. And so we have to have that foster to step up, and we have amazing fosters that typically they do eventually, but honestly, the fosters get to choose, if they have a dog, a cat, what's going to get along with their animals.
Right.
So there's no guarantees. And really the big thing with our owner surrender program, we're trying to find resources so that we don't have to have these animals come into the rescue. We don't need any more animals in the rescue. So we're really trying to apply those resources back and say, here, keep your pet. Can we help you? Is it pet food? Is it vetting? Is
Right.
it,
What
what
is
is
it?
it? Training. Maybe just sometimes it's advice that they need
Yeah.
and need to talk to somebody. And so that's more of the focus is just kind of keeping people and pets together.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to kind of shift our mission towards more.
That makes sense. Is there any more misconceptions with people calling in and wanting to, find a spot for their animal?
I think, one of the biggest things we deal with is people finding strays, and they'll contact us and say, I have this dog or this cat that I found last week and I need to surrender it. And, we always tell everyone we can't do that. We're not an impound. So there's animal control and impound, especially around this area. There's Mille Lacs animal control. There's Isani animal control. So if it's a stray for dogs anyways, that's where people need to go through first. We can't take them in. For cats, that's a whole other story. There's a lot of impound services across Minnesota. It's really unfortunate, but they don't support cats anymore. And so cats are kind of left out there. They're not going to the impounds. They're not going to animal control. And so there's not really any resources. So we do try to help more with the cats. But we always tell people, there's a stray hold that you have to follow. You have to do your due diligence. You have to make sure you try to find that owner.
Right.
I mean, I know so many cats that wander, down the block, and they're somebody's pet, know. And so we tell people either put them back or go door to door, try to find the owners. We don't want to just take someone's animal in. And so we always check for like a microchip first, and we always make sure that it's posted out there. We've done our due diligence to make sure that there's not an owner somewhere searching for them.
Well, and also, I've heard or seen online where people have said, sometimes cats just wander the neighborhood and then somebody starts feeding them, and now they stick around and it's somebody's pet.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then they're calling animal control or probably you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it happens. Just this morning, I set up a trail camera at my house, and I have two. I don't know if they're feral cats, stray cats. They are visiting all the time. And so I put out food for them just because it was the middle of winter and I felt bad. But I did notice one of them for sure is not neutered. And so I was able to go around the neighborhood and check with everyone, is this your cat? Nobody's claiming this cat. And he's definitely a feral cat. And that's the thing. There could be a stray cat or a feral cat. And there is a big difference. Like feral cats, you're not going to be able to catch them. You're hardly going to be able to look at them. They're going to run. I mean, think of a wild animal. They're out of there.
So that's what a feral cat is. It's like does not belong to anybody.
No, they really have had no or very minimal. He's ready to get down.
He's ready to get down.
Very minimal human interaction.
Okay.
Whereas a stray, they were owned at one point in time. They maybe still are owned, but somebody had them. Maybe they got lost, misplaced, you're not sure, but they have more. They might stop and look. They might wait for you. They might gradually start coming around.
Let you pet them, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. And so it might take a little bit of time, but with like a true feral cat, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to, even by putting out food, get them to come up to you and trust you.
So where did they come up with the name feral? For
That's a good
like
question.
A wild cat.
Yeah.
It's literally like a feral animal that is a feral cat, and so many people think they can domesticate them, and it's for us, we feel like it's one of the worst things you can do. If you take in a feral cat, and let's use the one I trapped. I set out a live trap last night, and I caught him. He's actually getting neutered right now at the office. But had I, brought this cat into my house and tried to tame it and put it in my bathroom, it's going to be the next 6 months, and for that cat, it's going to be miserable. That cat is so much better off being neutered and put back outside, living his life. Whether I want to keep feeding him or not, he'll find food. He's been doing it. He's been living out there on his own. So it's almost to a point of like inhumane if you bring in a true feral cat into your house or the rescue. And that is where we have to gauge from people when they say, I found a cat. It's like, well, is it a feral or is it a stray? Because that's going to really depend if it's friendly, if we can even place it, or, recommend to people, hey, we might try to help spay and neuter if we have funds available, and then to ask them to put it back. And that's called trap, neuter, return, TNR.
TNR.
I did not know that. I didn't know that there was like actual... I mean, I know the term feral cat, but I didn't know that it was, you just want to get them neutered or spayed and then put them back out. So it's like people always think of cats as only being pets.
Right. Yep. And that's probably where, they came up with the term probably feral because of that reason, to try to distinguish between the two. But it is interesting because there's a lot of studies. If you look into just TNR and you can just Google it, there's a lot of resources out there. And we have some on our website under a resource center that people can look if they want to learn more about this. But it is very true that if you put out these traps and you keep trapping and keep spaying and neutering these cats in your neighborhood, let's just say people are upset that there's a big colony of cats living somewhere.
Yeah.
The more you spay and neuter them, the less likely, first, they're not going to be reproducing. Second, it's fine to go ahead and feed them. If you want that colony, they'll stay there and they'll kind of fight off, so to speak, other cats.
Yeah.
So they're not going to keep attracting more once you get them spayed and neutered. They kind of form that colony and they live out their lives and eventually pass on. But if you don't spay and neuter them, that colony is going to keep growing, and they're going into heat. They're attracting more cats, so it will keep growing. So that's something that we're trying to push out there, just to all different communities across the state about TNR, and for cities to apply funding towards, because there is a cat problem and nobody knows what to do, and so that's
especially if you can't catch them,
right.
Which is difficult to do.
How do you recommend catching them?
Right.
Live
trapping them.
Yeah, live traps.
Do you guys sell live traps?
We don't sell them, but for the community right now, we actually have a couple that we do rent out. Okay. So if people need to borrow them in Princeton. And what we do is we have a hired grant writer, and she's part-time, but we are trying to apply for TNR funds. So they are out there. There's grants out there. They're hard to come by. But when we do get them, that's what we apply here, especially towards Princeton. And it's usually like Mille Lacs, Sherburne, Isani, Kanabec County. And so we let people know when they contact us that I have this farm full of cats that I just moved in, or they're just appearing. We can do unowned animals. So these feral cats, nobody owns them.
Right.
So we can then do the surgeries there, and we will have the funds available. And it's right now we're trying to get we're out of the funds right now, but hopefully we get them soon because we're going into kitten season here real quick.
Yeah.
So I live in a country and there's these cats that are always by my house. I can contact you and say,
You could, yeah. You're going to want to establish some type of like, first of all, that we can do it, that we have funds, but then feeding them, knowing you're going to be able to catch them. You could then take the live trap, set it up, and we'll have to pick certain days because there's only certain days right now that we do surgery at the office.
Okay.
So it all depends on, do we have the funding available, and then do we have the availability for our vets there to do it.
and then you'd give it back to me
Yep.
to release back to where
Yep.
I found it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so you'd bring it right back out and let it go. We usually tell people, wait till that night. Some people wait for a spay. It's a little bit more invasive even that next morning and keep it in the trap overnight.
Okay.
And then you just, open it up and let them go.
Interesting. So this is a lot of education that, that people can be aware of and learn more about, feral cats. Because I feel like, I wouldn't say that there's a problem in Princeton, but I hear people talking about it all the time. And then they're saying, that's just like, I feel like back by the river.
Yes, and they love the river. That's super common. There's water there. There's food.
So there's probably colonies back there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it would be good to tell somebody, like, if you can catch them, to get them
Yep, let's do
fixed.
TNR. Yeah.
and then release them back.
Yep.
Interesting.
With
Yeah.
people that want to foster, what does that look like? Do they have to go and sign up through your website and then?
Yeah, so we are 100% foster based. So if somebody's interested in fostering, we always tell people it's just like having your own pet. I mean, the responsibility of if you had your own pet, you're providing the love, the care. We provide all the supplies, and they can go to our website. That's where they'll find out more information. Just, what is fostering all about? What does it entail? There is a lot of things that I think people don't always know. And a couple of the questions that we get, I call them like maybe debunking some of the myths, is that people say, well, I would become too attached, and then you're going to take the animal from me, and I don't get to decide. And that's not true. When people foster for Ruff Start, they get to decide, where does that animal go. They know that animal the best, whether it's a dog, a cat, or a critter. We do have rabbits and guinea pigs and gerbils and rats. I mean, we've had everything you can think of that it's coming to the rescue in our critter category. But they are going to know those animals the best as a foster. So we're going to put them on the website, and people are going to start applying. At that point, then the foster gets to connect with all those adopters and say, who's the best fit? Here's what I think is going to be the best for this dog or this cat. So they really have a big say in where this animal goes. And then also, we always, if the foster falls in love and they want to adopt, which absolutely happens,
Yes.
they get first dibs on adopting the animal.
I know people that it's happened to.
Oh, yes.
They'll post pictures and say, well,
Yeah,
I was fostering.
couldn't give them up. Yes.
Now he or she's ours. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you want to adopt,
Yeah.
is that the best way to go, to foster to adopt, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you can. So we have a couple options. So, you asked about fostering, so people could fill out a foster application on our website. There's a video tutorial they'll go through. They'll talk to a foster coordinator. They'll figure out, is this the right fit for them? A lot of people do that even starting out if they're thinking about adopting and they're not quite sure, are they ready? Are their kids responsible enough to help, with the chores of taking care of a pet? So they'll start with fostering and see how it goes. I would definitely recommend that. The next thing that we actually do is there's straight up adoption. So someone could go to the website, and I think right now there's probably, at any given time, there's 200 to 500 animals on the website available looking for their homes to be adopted. Yeah, so you can go there, you can learn about these animals, you can fill out an application, and you can apply, and then someone will be in touch with you. Otherwise, if you go to our website, this is something we started doing a few years ago, and it's called our Foster to Adopt program. There's a select few, and it's typically those dogs that are coming from Texas that I talked about, sometimes Arkansas, but that they are available for the Foster to Adopt program specifically. And what that is those dogs, let's say our partner down in Houston, we have several rescues that we work with. They're able to take these dogs in 2, 3, even 4 weeks ahead of time before they come up on a transport. So we've already gotten the information on these dogs. We are able to get them for the most part, fully vetted. If they're not fully vetted, spayed and neutered, we'll do that here once they get to the office that week. But we already have all the information. We have some cute pictures. We have a ton of fosters now down in the Houston area. So for us, there's no point in putting them into a foster here and then putting them to a second, which really would be a third home, an adopter.
Right.
When they could come up here and go to a foster to adopt home, someone that's interested with the intent that they want to adopt them, but we need to make sure they're fully vetted, they're good to go before they get up here. So we will tell people, go to the website, you'll see different dogs that are listed when they're arriving, and those are the dogs, if they have an arrival date, that are eligible for this foster to adopt program. So at that point in time, you can actually fill out that foster application. It's a little bit slimmed down of a process, but we do want people to know going into that, we know their intent is to adopt. They want to adopt them. If it doesn't work out, if it's not the right fit, we just ask that people then continue the foster process, help stick it out, and help us find that dog or cat, the right adoptive home, and then they can try it again. So it's kind of like a trial run,
Yeah.
But it's really good because we wouldn't want to just adopt them out the second they get here. We want to make sure they're healthy, that we have everything covered for those adopters before they sign that paperwork.
What does that application look like if you want to be a foster? Like, what are the rules? Do you have to have a home? Do you have to?
It's pretty, so I will tell you, it's kind of wild. Since I started this, 14 years ago, we were, I would say, much more strict, closed-minded, probably. And over the 14 years, you realize that, maybe 3, 4, or 5 bad situations out of, we've adopted out over 25,000 animals now.
Oh my goodness.
And those 5 bad situations would dictate, honestly, dumb policies that we would put in place that didn't even make sense to the rest of the population that we're trying to. It made it harder. And we kept hearing from people that, were discouraged about adopting because it's like adopting a child. It's just so many hoops to jump through. And that's the last thing that we want people to feel like. So we really took a step back. Started 2 years ago. Last year we formalized it more, but reducing and removing barriers to adopting and fostering, and really trying to train our staff, our volunteers, our fosters to withhold some of those judgments that they might have. An example would be, and we use this in animal rescue a lot, is that there's a lot of people, and I don't know that I should say a lot, but a decent handful of people that they might apply, and this could be for fostering or adopting, and maybe their personality is not the same as yours. Maybe they're very quiet. Maybe they're even standoffish. And the foster might think, well, I don't want to adopt to them, but
Right.
the thing is those people, usually they're animal people.
Yeah.
They might not be people, but they love their animals. And so,
I can see that.
yeah, we had to kind of tell people, look at this from a different perspective and stop making so many judgments. We used to have things like, we're going to do background checks on everyone. We're going to do reference checks on everyone. We're going to do home visits on everyone. We don't do any of it anymore. We have conversation-based adoptions. That foster, that adopter, we have kind of guidelines that we coach people through. It's more about having that conversation. Is this the right fit? Do you know what you're in for?
Right.
Are you prepared? Is this too much activity for your household? Is this what you're really looking for? And, another example that I'll use is we would have people that might apply that for a large breed dog. It might be a lab, let's just say, that's a hyper lab. And someone applies, and we used to have on the application, like, what kind of a house do they live in? Well, someone might see an apartment, and they're going to say right away, oh, this isn't a good fit. This dog has so much energy. That's not always the case. Sometimes those people that live in apartments, they run 5 miles a day.
Right.
They're out bringing that dog for 3 walks a day. They're getting more energy out of them. Yeah,
Yes.
the dog park. I mean, more than I do at home. And I let my dogs out in the back fenced yard, and that's about the extent of it. They're
Right.
getting more attention and more exercise. So we really had to take a look at, like, let's take a step back and stop telling people that, oh yeah, this just isn't the right fit. Now we have everyone pick up the phone, have a conversation. Let's find out. Is it? Because we don't know someone's, activity, their lifestyle. And so it's all about figuring out between that foster and that adopter, that conversation piece, and having that phone call to say, is this going to be the right match?
Yeah. What's the longest a dog's ever been in a foster situation?
Oh, I would say maybe a year and a half, which is so unlikely.
Yep.
But there are some that will have behavioral issues and, strong separation anxiety, things like that, where the foster's working on them with training, or they got adopted, and some will get returned. And that happens.
Yep.
I mean, it's not the right fit for everyone. So sometimes if they are in the rescue longer, a lot of times they did get adopted once, they might have been returned. But typically, they're in the rescue because we are so transparent on the website about what this dog or this cat comes with. So, they're not always for everyone. Those certain ones.
Like maybe not kids.
Yeah.
Or,
Yep. So there are, and we would rather keep them with the foster where they're doing good until we find that perfect match for them of an adopter.
The fosters are just, wow.
Yeah, they're rock stars.
Honestly, to say, are the foster that brought all these in, one puppy.
That's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah,
so
no,
7?
7. And there was 14 in this litter that came in. It was 2 litters mixed together. It was 2 moms taking care of 14 that came in total.
Wow.
And so she did have 10 at one point, and then a foster took 3.
So do they come to you still pregnant?
So these ones did not. These ones were actually on a reservation where the people did not want them anymore. They had to give them up or they couldn't take care of them anymore.
Okay.
And typically one thing to know about us is that we don't leave the moms behind. We would never just take the puppies and not the moms. They actually, in this case, wanted to keep the moms and they wanted the puppies gone. So in those cases, like if this were local too, we would try to recommend and spay neuter. And, so this doesn't happen again. This situation, I'm not particularly sure. We have reservation partners that we work with that kind of help in between. And so this was 14 puppies. I know it was 2 different moms that had them, but the 2 moms were taking care of all 14 together.
Wow.
So yeah, we took all 14 to the rescue and found foster homes for them. But puppies are a lot of work. Our fosters are amazing. I couldn't do
Unreal.
it. I could not. I would lose my mind. I love these puppies. But oh my goodness, it is a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, just the potty training and so they're, I don't know.
Getting up at night and the whining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of puppies, maybe we should take a break because I need one. I need to get one back in my arms.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hi, this is Kim Young from the Princeton Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. Just wanting to let you know about some fun events we have going on this summer for the Rum River Festival, happening June 6th through 9th. June 6th is our annual Rum River Festival Parade. And then June 7th through 9th, we are bringing the world's largest rubber duck to Princeton. The rubber duck is going to stand over 6 stories high, so we're super excited about that. The duck will be on display June 7th through 9th. June 7th, we also have the Lucky Duck Race happening in Riverside Park. And on June 8th, we have the Rum River Festival 5K. And there's many other fun things going on during that time. So be sure and stop by. In the meantime, if you would like to have a commercial on this podcast, just get a hold of us at the Chamber and you can become a sponsor. Well, one thing we are curious about, you've talked about writing grants and getting funding that way, but like you said, that for one, that's not guaranteed, and 2, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So what other ways can people help?
We have individual donations. That's our biggest source of revenue. That's something we constantly need. There's a lot of people that think, nonprofits, they must get state and federal funding. We've never gotten state and federal. It's not a thing.
No.
Animal welfare sector especially, there's not a lot, even with grants, it's very, very slim. It's not in like social services or education, Animal welfare, I think it's like 3%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, of the funding that's available. And so there's a lot of animal rescue organizations. Everyone is competing for that. So very slim on the grants. We have fundraising events. So that would be definitely a way when we put out our fundraising events for people to support us through those. We have a walk that's coming up in May.
Okay.
So people we encourage people to make their own little fundraising page and, go through and try to fundraise for that. And we always have things like that coming up where people can help us, they can get involved, they can come to some of our events. But really also in-kind donations. So animal supplies, that's a big thing. Puppy and kitten food, constantly needed. We're going into puppy and kitten season now, anytime in the summer. We're begging every week. We run out of it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that in-kind donation. So what if somebody they just lost their pet or something and they're not going to have another pet and they have an abundance of food and maybe some of it's already been opened?
Yep.
Is that?
Yes, absolutely. So we will take all of that. And so what we will do, just depending on if it's opened, if we have a need for it, if we have an overabundance of maybe senior food or something like that, we work with the Princeton Pantry and we bring them large donations. And so, it's actually when we used to have a small location here in Princeton, we moved to a little bit larger one where we are now. We started doing this, so I think 2016 is when we started this. And we loaded up a van full, a big white cargo van of donations. We went over to the pantry and we said, well, we have all these to donate. Do you guys accept pet food? And they said, well, we have never done this.
Right.
this is way too much. First of all, we don't have room. They said, we'll take, some of it, and maybe in a couple weeks, we can take the rest. And we were in between moving facilities. So what we did was we left half of it, and then, I want to say maybe a week later, I think it's Joyce that works there. She called us and said, oh my goodness, we never knew there was such a need. It's all gone. Can you bring more?
Wow.
And so at that point, we're like, oh, okay, there is a need. We didn't know either. And I mean, you think if people are going there for themselves, if they need it, and if they have pets at home, they probably absolutely need it. So since then, we have constantly, anything extra that we get, whether it's opened or just things that we can't use, that's where they go now. And they all get used, and we give them quite a bit. So the need is huge, whether it's internally for our fosters or for the Princeton Pantry. We've helped with Elk River Pantry too. We have different pantries that will reach out to us, but I would say the Princeton Pantry gets the majority of the stuff.
And I remember, it's been several years, I think now, where you received like a truckload of food. Didn't Plastic Products help store some?
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
that was I think about 3 years ago. That was like a whole semi-full.
Oh, it was a semi-full.
It was so much food. It was amazing. I think, I'm trying to remember, it was like $200,000 worth of food. And we gave it all back out to the community and different food shelves that needed it. So that was super rewarding. And we learned then just the need. The need is huge for people to have this pet food.
Right. Yeah. And volunteering, we know that fostering and things like that, but what are some other volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, so we have a lot of volunteer. I mean, we have staff. We have a lot of staff now, but we are, I would still say, about 90% volunteer driven. And so we have everything from remote opportunities. You could live anywhere and do them, which could be registering microchips, uploading vet records, helping write our blogs, to on-site here in Princeton. We're always needing help. So some things there would be like receptionist help, office coordinator help. We have laundry, so much laundry every day that has to be done when we have our surgeries going on. We also have, if anyone's interested in helping with like recovery for the animals on our surgery days, cleaning the instruments. We need help on our surgery days, even just walking the animals, talking to people when they get there and kind of learning how that goes. The hard part we run into is that a lot of people are working during the week, during those hours. And that's when our business hours are. So we need more volunteers that are available, Monday through Friday during working hours. Yeah. Yep. So that's always a need. We need drivers if people are interested in transporting, whether that be, going down to maybe Golden Valley and back up to Princeton or driving all the way down to Texas in our van and bringing back up some dogs for us. So there's something for everyone. We have a full list.
And that's all volunteers that transport for you?
Yep, all volunteers.
Amazing.
It is.
That'd be kind of a fun trip to Texas, go pick up some dogs.
Yep, and people kind of make a little trip out of it. They'll have, an extra night there. And we provide all of the funding for it and pay for everything for hotels and stuff. Yep, and food. And so we do have people that do it, and we would not be able to do this without our volunteers.
Right.
And the fosters. I mean, fosters they're also volunteers, but there's 650 active fosters, and there's about 600 active volunteers too.
Wow.
That are separate from that. Yeah, so I mean, there's, right now I'm just trying to think of marketing. That's always an area that we need help in with marketing and writing. And we even have like pet profile coordinators. So when the fosters send in information, they fill it out about the dog or the cat, the pet profile coordinators will spruce it up and make sure we get good pictures. And I mean, we have people approach us that they might have a skill set and we didn't even know we needed it. And they come to us and we're like, oh, that sounds great.
They give you an idea. We could do this easier or whatever it is.
So we have a full list on our website of whether it's remote or on site. The hard thing is we don't have, a lot of people are looking for like hands-on animal opportunities.
They just want to cut off.
And we don't have a ton, because we don't have that shelter type setting. But really, I do think if somebody wanted to do that, we have people, you could sign up to be a leash holder. So if the fosters can't get to an event and there's an adoption day going on, you could bring them. You could pick them up from the foster and you could bring them to that event for them and talk to people and kind of, you have to learn about, that dog or cat first. But you can bring them to that event. You can help transport them. You could even temporary foster if you wanted to be, we call them a temp foster, but that's something we constantly need, especially over the holidays. We have fosters that they want to foster, but they're going somewhere over 4th of July weekend, or the holidays. Where does the dog go? Where does the cat go? And we ask fosters, we tell them, you gotta figure that out. But it's so much nicer. We have a closed group that we have in Facebook for all of our volunteers and all of our fosters that are approved. And they can post in there like, hey, I'm going on vacation. Is anyone available in 3 weeks to watch my foster?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good community where people will step up and say, yeah, I'm going to be around, that weekend. But we always need more of those temp fosters.
Yeah. Wow. Well, these guys have, what, 9, 10, 11, like 13, 14 dogs?
Yeah,
What's
there's
one more?
Right. There was the 14 in the litter, and now they're down to the 7. And they'll quickly get adopted as soon as they're spayed and neutered. We make sure everyone's fully vetted before they can get adopted, and healthy. And we make sure they have we do everything from the surgery to the vaccines to if there's they're microchipped, flea and tick, dewormed. And some of the older animals will need dentals too. I mean, if it's like their teeth are a tiny bit dirty, which we call them a grade 1 or 2, we're not going to do that. But if they come in and they have some really icky teeth, we're going to make sure we get the dentals done before they get adopted too. So that's a big part of, we have adoption fees that are, on these animals, and they cover that basic vetting. Basic. But those dentals, they don't cover.
Yeah.
So that's why we're constantly doing the events, the begging and putting out and saying we need donations to continue doing this, because the adoption fees only go so far.
What about like blankets and things like that?
Yeah. Yep. We always need blankets. We don't, the huge like comforters, those, our washer and dryer have taken a beating. So those, the really big ones we don't use as much, but any of the like medium size, like fleece blankets, any of them that are thinner, we will absolutely take. We use them in the kennels. We use them for surgery, for recovery. Towels, so many towels.
Baby blankets, like when
That'd be
I
perfect.
have a ton of baby blankets.
Baby
in, like,
blankets
a
are
tub
perfect.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Even newspapers. We use those instead of puppy pads. Puppy pads are expensive, and they're in there for 10 minutes and they're all ruined anyways. And so newspapers work great. And we just ran out of newspapers a couple weeks ago. So constantly, we do have a list on our website as well of like our most updated needs. It can change. It fluctuates a little bit, but kennels, we always need different size kennels as well. And again, when we get an overabundance of this stuff, then that's where the food shelf comes in. So you can't go wrong.
Do you work like with the Union Times or ECM or anything like that?
We do sometimes, Yep. If they reach out to us, or we'll reach out to them about certain things, but it's kind of more when we send out like the press releases and stuff. But it would be nice to do even more to let people know that hey, we could use this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot that you guys do, a lot that I think people probably are very unaware of, and a lot of misconceptions about how you I think probably the biggest misconception, is that you house a bunch of dogs at your facility.
Yeah. We get that a lot. And I always feel so bad because, they walk in and they're like, oh, we're here to see the dogs. And I'm like, well, they're on the website, and we have a computer and iPad. We'll pull it up and they can look through on there. And then we just explain the importance of them being in homes and getting that attention. And what better way, if you're looking to adopt, then you can ask that foster questions. Right. Are they good with kids, cats, dogs, if the foster has them? But it's a lot better than if you went to a shelter and
you have no idea.
You don't know. So it's one of the big benefits.
And this one likes hair.
Yep, likes hair. It's waking up.
Let's talk about these, the ones that we have right now. They're so cute, you guys, and just
I know
calm. I think I have Cypress. I think that's what I have now.
So they're going to be available soon. In about a week and a half, they will be ready to go home. So they're going to get spayed and neutered at the end of next week.
Okay.
Usually it's around 10 weeks or so that we'll do the alteration surgery. And then within a couple days, they will be ready to go home. So they'll be on the website soon. And we are going into puppy and kitten season. So there will be so many puppies.
Okay, so you've talked about puppy and kitten season. What is that? That's like April, May, spring?
Yeah, May really is when it ramps up. We're starting to see it right now, but it's kind of crazy because in the winter months, especially with cats, there's no kittens in Minnesota. It's between the weather, the sun, it's lack of sun. And it all has to do with like heat cycles and the sun and how long the sun is out. And so with cats in particular, we have no kittens in like January, February. We have people that are reaching out to us saying, where are the kittens?
Wow.
And you get to June, July, we have 300 kittens in the rescue.
Right.
So it's a huge fluctuation that happens. So we will have kitten food for months, and then all of a sudden we have none. Okay. But if people are wanting kittens, absolutely watch our website. In puppy season, it is a real thing, but we do see puppies year round more so. Kittens a little bit more drastic of a change come summertime.
That's interesting.
And I have seen on social media people saying, searching for a kitten.
Yeah, yep. It's starting now, and there will be plenty soon.
Yeah, so wait until you can adopt. Adopt, don't shop.
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Yes.
yes. We're trying to bring that back. That's when I started the rescue. We used to say that slogan all the time. And then it went away a little bit. And I think the reason it went away personally is just even before like COVID, things were getting better. People were adopting. There wasn't as big of a need anymore. Granted, it was still there, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as much. We really gone backwards since
Yes.
then. Things are bad again.
I was going to ask you, COVID, was it a lot of people
Yeah.
getting animals and then
some
because they were home?
Yep, and so that is a big part of it. I would say not necessarily for Ruff Start adopters so much, just because we were prepared for that. We did a lot of training to prepare people to remember you are going to go back to work at some
Right,
point. So like
right.
start
Yeah.
preparing your dog now. And so that helped for sure. That is a thing though across just the U.S. of yes, animals being returned and having a lot of anxiety
Yeah.
because now people are returned to work. But another big part of it is when this happened. Vetting, all of the vet clinics were closed down for spay neuter. So all the spay neuter clinics. I mean,
sure.
even
They were, that's
yeah, it was called an elective surgery.
Right.
I always thought this is not elective.
No.
Like this is going to be a major problem.
Right.
And 6 weeks later, they opened back up, and it's like you'd think maybe 6 weeks that's not enough to do anything. It has caused so much damage. There are spay neuter clinics that are so backed up still trying to catch up from that, where
Wow.
once everything opened back up, and I can't remember, I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's like 2 or 3 million animals that didn't get altered that would have otherwise been spayed or
Wow.
neutered. So the
How many?
2 to 3 million, I believe it is.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple. It's had a drastic effect. So when I talk about those animals running all over Houston, especially down there, it's like year-round breeding. And if they're not doing those spay and neuter clinics, all it took was a month and a half to back everything up, and
Sure.
they can't get caught up. So that's a big part of it. But then also just the veterinary field. It's a huge shortage of vets right
Yep.
now and vet techs. And so if you don't have vets to spay and neuter and there's not enough of them, that's going to cause issues
Right.
too.
Yep.
So it's kind of the perfect storm in a bad way,
Yeah, right.
where now there's just this overpopulation is coming back, and we're trying to bring up the messaging to people that, hey, look, we really need you to adopt,
Yeah.
And I see people going to breeders all the time, and I have to think like, it's just because they don't know, it must
Yeah.
be because we need to spread the education and let people know that, in the rescue, if someone's looking for a purebred dog, half the time we do get them.
Right.
And if we don't have them, other rescues
Yeah.
do,
And
so.
probably from breeders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially right now.
Yeah.
That's been a big thing. And so just trying to encourage people to adopt first and look into that before going to a breeder, because the overpopulation is just, it's bad. It's worse than, it reminds me really of like 2010 when I started the rescue. So
Wow.
we've gone backwards.
These little guys you think are husky lab?
I think Shepherd, what did we say? Shepherd Lab. And it's kind of funny. A lot of these little ones that come from the reservation, it's Shepherd something.
You can almost guarantee there's
Yeah, there's a lot of them are Shepherd something, yes. And they have a lot of them, I think they're all black. So Black Lab was in there, but a
Right.
couple of them are very fuzzy and fluffy too.
There are a couple that are really
They are
fuzzy.
absolutely adorable.
And they're so sweet.
So
They are.
sweet. You're gonna be gone soon,
Yeah.
I know.
So by the time you're watching this
You're gonna have a
video,
family.
Yeah.
about a week from then, these will be ready to be
Right. These will
picked
be,
up.
ready to watch.
There's 14 on the website, so
There's
Yeah.
14.
Fast.
Yeah.
I just know it.
Yep. So act fast.
Yeah.
Anything you need to say, Cypress?
This one is
Nothing?
he likes to lick. He's very calm.
I know I have a little runt over here.
Adopt me.
It's just,
And you were sleeping for the longest time, but now you're ready to play.
yeah, eat my hair.
Yep.
That's it.
Uh-huh.
He's got a little petite face.
Was
Well,
there anything
ahead.
else? Oh, was there anything else that you wanted to share?
I think just in Princeton, it's something that, because I've grown up here my whole life and I've started it here, this is just such a cool opportunity. So thank you for having me on. I really think, for me, it's kind of always going back to my roots here. And one thing that we're finding is we are trying to help the community more and more, and we're having kind of a hard time with getting the support with funding or corporations. And so we're trying to get more involved with the local community and figure out what does that look like, because the support is needed here. We're just, as far as even just the whole rural areas, it's needed.
Yep.
There's not a lot of
Yep.
rescues. There's not a lot of like the educational pieces. And so we're trying to stick to the roots, but we need to find more support to do that. There's a lot of rescues in the Twin Cities, and we help the Twin Cities all the time, but they've kind of got it covered in some of those areas, and so we really want to focus our attention more on the rural area. That's why I started it. You know, I grew up on 50 acres, and animals were showing up left and right out there, and the need's still there. So I think our work is not nearly done, especially in this
No.
area. We just want to grow more. So any support, I think, from the local community, corporations that would want to help us, whether it's financially, in kind, sending employees to volunteer, we would love that. So we can grow in this area.
Absolutely.
And get that message back out there.
Yeah.
Adopt, don't shop.
Yes, yep, for sure. And really
Yeah.
spread the word on that.
Yeah, definitely.
So the best way to reach out to you, website, Facebook page?
Either one. Yeah, if you go on the website, if anyone was looking for, let's say, a resource for something, we have a whole community resource center on our website. But if they were interested in fostering, adopting, volunteering, or donating, the website's going to be the best place. There's a section for each one of those on the website to learn more and then to reach out to with contact.
And what is that website?
ruffstartrescue.org. RUFF.
ruffstartrescue.org. Reach out, people. And I know that there's corporations, it's becoming popular now where they want their employees to go and volunteer.
Yeah. Yep. And we will do too. Sometimes the corporations will pay us to do, like an employee engagement or wellness thing for them where we bring in puppies or animals and kind of have a little like puppy party.
Okay.
So we've done that. And that's been something they'll, get their employees pizza or whatever, pizza and puppies.
Yeah.
And so we've done that as long as we have puppies.
Yeah.
Right now we have lots.
Yes.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's excellent. Well, we just appreciate your time. We know how busy you are.
Yeah,
and
thank you for
appreciate
having
you
me
coming
on.
on the podcast today. And
Yeah, I
so we
appreciate
can
you
help get the
asking.
message out.
We've been
definitely,
excited.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you guys
Yes.
for having us.
So then, until next time, this is Kim, Zach, and Mary signing off. This is Princeton. Stay here, play here.
And if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you.
Adopt.
Podcast produced by Kitzman Creations. Music by Charles Moe. Be sure to subscribe to the Princeton Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, to view our awkward moments, check us out on our YouTube channel and visit us at www.thisisprincetonmn.co.